Hallo, my name's Faye and I thought I would just jump on the opportunity of telling you about the 4 books that I read in January, even though it's quite late in February already, but the weather just isn't getting better. I keep on putting off filming to wait for sunshine and it's not going to happen. So, I read 4 books in January, all of them sort of mediocre, which is a bit sad, but 2 of them I already had in physical copy on my shelves in 2019, which is great, because one of my goals this year is to read the books that I own, and in order to encourage me to do that, I'm going to only allow myself to buy half the amount of books new that I've read from the shelves I already own. I feel like that is worded in a really confusing way. Well, maybe this makes it a bit more clear. I read 2 books from my shelves that I already owned in January. Therefore, I was allowed to buy 1 new book, and that is Weiße Menschen, nicht, über Rassismus, hören, wollen, aber wissen sollten. Very long title. I haven't read this book yet, but I'm going to read this with a few friends of mine, sort of as a sort of book club thing, I guess. So I needed to buy it. So I was very much encouraged, motivated to read 2 books from my shelves that I already owned. I sort of compiled a Goodreads shelf, so if you want to head over to my Goodreads, you can see which books I should be picking from. Maybe you can make me actually choose some of them, recommend some of them. Maybe I'll also unhaul some at some point as a way to just find the loophole and buy new books. We'll see. Anyway, the first book that I read in January, the first book of the year, was Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. So I've had this on my shelves for quite a long time, and I got this from friends of mine, I think, who didn't really like it that much, and I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I felt like, unfortunately, this essay collection doesn't age very well, and even though Roxane Gay writes really well, I had a really weird issue with this book. I kept on feeling really distanced from it, or not very involved, because she gets so angry. And that's a really weird issue to have with a book about feminism and inevitably different occurrences, facts, societal issues that very much prove that gender equality hasn't perfectly been reached. So with all these facts given, it's fair enough to be angry. So I didn't really understand what my issue was with this, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like I've read other books where the same issues are handled in a bit more of a detached, maybe more scientific manner, and that's a language that I appreciate a little bit more. Also, a lot of this is quite sort of pop cultural in its focus, and I feel like I've read 20 essays on Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey and how they are problematic, and I just don't find that very unique anymore. But I noted 1 sentence out of it that I thought I'd just read out to you, because then you get a flavour for what it reads like, and also this is a sentence I really liked. No point in harping on about the stuff I didn't like. So this is from the essay Not Here to Make Friends, and that's, I want characters to do bad things and get away with their misdeeds. And I thought that was cool, and maybe I should allow her to do that a little bit more as well. Not my favourite, 3 out of 5 stars. I did like it a hell of a lot more than her essay collection Hunger, which so many people love, so I don't know why that sort of hit me so much. I didn't like it. Bad Feminist, unfortunately, only sort of a middle ground for me. Then I listened to an audiobook by Jessica Valenti, is that what she's called? Yeah, and I also need to read out the title because it's really long and arduous and I don't want to get it wrong. So the audiobook was called Why Have Kids? A New Mum Explores the Truth About Parenting and Happiness. So I feel like this is a topic that I am unusually interested in. Sort of the whole question about having children being very much part of the blueprint that is expected of you. I'm 30 years old. more and more often I find myself in situations where people presume that I want children, or view me as an academic, and then sort of comment on that having stolen years of my childbearing times. There's a lot of sort of panic around not being an old parent because that's sort of unhealthy, dangerous, maybe you just don't end up pregnant. Going on a bit of a tangent here to explain why this topic sort of has been popping up more and more just sort of in my private life and in my work life, but that's a different issue. That makes me very angry that pops up in my professional life, and men my age don't have to deal with this topic. Just saying. Anyway, this audiobook, again, sort of meh, 3 out of 5 stars. And those are always the most difficult to review, aren't they? So, on the one hand, it's very focused on America, which is fine. America's a big country. It's an interesting country. But I did feel like some of the stuff just didn't really apply to me. She talks about sort of hospital systems and just doesn't apply to me. It's also extremely personal, which, again, what's wrong with me? I feel like that is also my issue with Bad Feminist in a sense. And maybe I'm starting to learn that I like quite, like, factual nonfiction. Although that's not true. There's also some extremely lyrical, personal nonfiction that I very much appreciate. So that can't be it. I don't know. I just felt like this was sort of an upset, educated mother who was sort of complaining about how you sort of get shamed about doing things wrong as a parent. You can't do anything right. And I mean, she wasn't as unlikable as I'm describing her here, but I just at some point thought, well, you're still very privileged, just seeing as sort of how you are situated. And I think she has an academic background as well, her husband as well, I'm not sure. Just, you're complaining? Really? So, I don't know, it rubbed me up a little bit the wrong way. And there were also just not that many really new things I found in the book, so unimpressed. And then the final book that I read got 4 out of 5 stars, so this one I did really enjoy reading, and that was I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, who apparently wrote 101 Dalmatians, which now I'm quite curious to read. I only ever watched the Disney movie. So this is about Cassandra, a teenage girl, 17, I believe she is, at the beginning of the book, and it's written from her point of view. She's journaling, free associating, writing. How does she call it? Don't know. She wants to become a writer, just like her super crazy author father, who she lives on this sort of dilapidated, is that word, crumbling castle with him. His very sort of charismatic but also aloof modelling wife, so Cassandra's stepmom, and Cassandra's sister, who's very, very frustrated with their poverty, basically wants to escape the situation. Enter 2 dashing American brothers who own the estate, and then, basically a love story ensues in a way. But it's also a coming of age story, and I really liked reading from her perspective that way. It is quite a quick read. The ending for me was sort of quick, sort of disappointing, sort of also not that surprising. So that's why it didn't end up being a 5-star read for me, but I did really enjoy the reading experience. Also, I experimented reading this on my Scribd app, sort of in parallel with the book, which really helped me get through the book quicker, I believe, because sometimes this doesn't fit into my bag. Also, phones are so convenient, and I'm like on the underground all the time, so then my phone is handy. So yeah, maybe if you need a little bit of a motivation to read the books that have been wasting away on your shelves a little bit, you can mix media. Yeah, that's me trying to sound hip. And then I also read The Goal by Elle Kennedy, which for me was like a solid 3 out of 5 romance book. It's book 4 in the series of the Off-Campus series, about lots of very sexy college hockey players, and This one is around Tucker and Sabrina, and I quite enjoyed this, despite it having one of the romance tropes in it that I dislike the very, very, very most. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I guess fast forward the bit where I like awkwardly wave my hands away. So yeah, skip now. So the trope that is in there that I really, really hate is Sabrina getting pregnant accidentally, and that sort of forces them to stay together, but oh, they were meant to be together anyway, so thank God she got pregnant, otherwise they would have parted ways and not stayed together. Yippee yippee, two beautiful people procreate, everything's good. And it was okay in this book, I felt, because they do then put that at the focus and just sort of accept that they both want to be good parents and be there for the kid, and then the relationship question sort of comes later. So I like that. Yes, so now I guess you don't get spoiled anymore and you just stick around to hear me say those are the books that I read. Obviously, I will be reading this one in February. I have 2 more weeks to read this, although I think we agreed on not reading the whole thing. Yeah, so this will be really exciting. I've missed being in a book club, so it'll be cool to discuss that with some peeps. Yeah, and I'm happy that I'm sticking to reading books from my shelves a little bit. Like I said, head to my Goodreads and shout out some books that you think I should really, really, really read. I have a Goodreads shelf called something like 2019 TBR shelf, not sure. This is poorly prepared. Yeah, and February is already like a third way through, so I'm on top of things. I hope you're doing great. I hope you had a good start to your year, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.